Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Health Mastery podcast. My guest today is Andy Mant. He's from Australia, and he's the founder of BLUblox, which are awesome glasses because they are both for day and nighttime use. So, Andy, can you introduce yourself in a little bit more details?
Absolutely. So thank you, first of all, for having me on the podcast. It was really exciting to get your message and get an invitation to come on. I've always been a huge fan of Iris and the software for reducing and blocking blue light. So it was an honor to be invited on. I guess a little bit about me. I founded BLUblox, which is a company that makes these, which is blue and green light blocking glasses. I am 33 years old and I'm British, but I've lived in Australia for the last 7 years. I moved away from the UK basically just to get away from the lack of sunlight and miserable weather and just get somewhere where there's lots of nice sun and lots of nice beaches and walks and things like that to do, so I could be more at one with nature. Huge follower of the ketogenic diet as well, which I know a lot of biohackers like. Not averse to carbohydrate, but do follow a keto diet pretty strictly, especially in the winter time.
What is basically the ketogenic diet? Can you explain it in more details for newbies in the ketogenic diet like me?
Absolutely. So it was actually my first biohack and how I really got into everything. And a ketogenic diet is a sort of moderate protein, high veggie, sort of high fat diet. So eat a lot of green vegetables, a lot of natural fats like sort of nuts and meat and like avocados, just eat a lot of meat as well to go with it. So, but fattier cuts, like chicken thighs and beef and lamb, and also over the first sort of couple of years of doing that, I actually switched to substituting a lot of the meat out and actually putting fish in it. So fatty fish like salmon, getting oysters in me for like DHA, and lots of like small bony fish as well. So I eat the whole fish. And it's just really good because it manages your blood glucose levels and keeps you very sort of level when it comes to energy. And then I've tried all the diets and it basically led me to lose a lot of weight and start to think, wow, I can hack my biology here by just something I eat. And that really led me into looking into other things and other hacks and improving my life in loads of different ways, really.
So the goal of the ketogenic diet is basically to use the fat instead of the carbs, and this to not rise your glucose because you're not eating sugar, right?
Absolutely, yes. Using fat for fuel, because you can store a lot more, fat than you can by eating carbohydrates. So you just use that, you burn off all your body fat, and you just get really good physique. On my Instagram, you guys can check out before and after pictures. I was like a standard Australian mess for quite a few years, and went from a dad bod to a rad bod in about 12 months of just using a ketogenic diet. So it's pretty cool.
Super nice. Actually, Dr. Mercola, which I'm a big fan of, has a book like this, Fat for Fuel. I think this is the exact title of his book. So super awesome. Continue your story.
Yeah. So anyway, as I said, got into like keto, absolutely amazing. Saw some really, really good results. Weight loss, more energy, cholesterol levels were great. And after that, I thought to myself, well, what else can I do? And I started looking at other biohacks. So having like cold thermogenesis, which is like getting into a cold shower. And I learned that through discovering a guy called Wim Hof, who's really into sort of breathing techniques and being in the cold. I think he climbed Everest in his underpants or something crazy like that and had no
Everest
effects.
On underpants.
In his underpants, yeah. So what a crazy man, man. Such a cool dude. So anyway, I got really into that. And then I just started to see loads of posts come up, because I guess when you start going down a rabbit hole, other things start coming to light. And that is when I saw the light and decided to sort of look into how light is affecting us. So decided, my sleep was always not great. And, I'd always wake up in the night to go to the toilet, or I'd toss and turn. So I went and looked into that and discovered something called blue light blocking glasses. So I was like, I looked onto it, read Mercola's articles, the very basic stuff. So I went out and I went to Amazon and I bought myself a pair of like amber lens blue blocker glasses, put them on. Literally first couple of nights, my sleep improved. It wasn't like I was still waking up, but I felt a little bit better. I felt like a little bit more refreshed, like I was having better dreams. And I was like, wow, there's something to this. So anyway, they were these big sort of like safety goggle type things, like Uvex, I think they were. They were hideous, but I didn't care. Like, I was sat in my house, like, my wife thought I was a bit weird, but that was fine. So what I did was I started to research a little bit more. I was like, well, why is it these orange glasses are making a difference? And I discovered it was blue light, having blue light after dark was affecting your sleep, and I can explain a bit more about that later. But as I delved deeper into the literature, I actually found that some of the green light was also having effect on people's sleep. And I thought to myself, you know what? Maybe the glasses I'm wearing, yes, they're improving my sleep a little bit, but I still don't feel optimal. So anyway, I went about sort of researching some prototypes to actually build my own pair of glasses. So that was number one reason. The second reason was going back to what I said, they were ugly looking orange glasses. And I thought, God, if I can actually manufacture a lens that blocks exactly what you need to block in terms of the science that I reviewed, but also make them stylish, then people will actually want to wear them. Because blue light, and green light is not just in your home, it's everywhere. It's car headlights, if you go out after dark for a walk, if you're walking the dog, street lights, shopping malls and things like that. So I wanted people to be able to wear them out their home, even if they're going around their friend's house, or if having friends over, and not feel really embarrassed for wearing them. So anyway, I managed to manufacture a tint in partnership with an Australian optics lab that blocked up to 550 nanometers. So I'll explain all about the nanometers a bit later as well and what that means. But basically, it blocked exactly in line with the literature, every drop of blue light and green light that was affecting your sleep. So anyway, I got this prototype, tried it, and literally in the first night, for the first time in probably 14 years, I slept all the way through the night. I didn't get up to go to the loo. I woke up feeling refreshed. I had some really vivid dreams, crazy stuff, but it was really cool. And then we met with some frame manufacturers here in Australia as well. We got some really cool frames. We wanted to keep everything local in Australia as well for quality. And then that was how BLUblox was born. And I was like, you know what? I want to share this with the world. I don't want people to be wearing these ugly safety glasses. And I really don't want people to only be wearing amber lenses when it was very, very obvious and very clear from the literature, green light was important to block as well. So they needed red lenses. So that was really how BLUblox was born. And then we've evolved since then to bring in different collections of glasses for different times of the day. And again, I'll go on to explain this a little bit later on, but we manufactured a line of clear lenses where we actually impregnate a blue light absorbing material into the actual lens itself. So it doesn't give the appearance of yellow tinting. So this is only to be worn if you're just doing some light computer work. So if you're in the office and doing a little bit of computer work, your light's pretty cool, that's fine for the day. And then we manufacture some yellow ones as well, which we call mood booster glasses. And these are great for daytime as well. And again, I'll explain a lot more detail later on, but just in a nutshell as a brief introduction, these are for treating seasonal affective disorder, which during the winter when there's not a lot of sun, these actually mimic a bright summer's day and make people feel great and rejuvenated. And they also help with hormone management as well. So, we wanted to not just go into the market of helping people sleep. That's how we started. We wanted to provide the whole suite. We are like a light management specialist when it comes to, optics. So, that's basically in a nutshell our story. And we're really passionate about it, as you can probably tell.
Yes, it's super cool. So I want to say some things again. it's not only blue light, you also need to block the green light if you want to sleep good. And this is what a lot of companies probably do. They put a orange lens, and this actually is not the most effective, right?
Correct. That's right. So I'll tell people what light is. Okay. So light is packages of photons. They're waves. Okay. So people don't sort of technically understand what that means, and it's very difficult to explain what light is. But if we think of it as wavelengths, okay, like think of a rainbow. Okay, when you see a rainbow, that is all the spectrum of light. Okay, so it goes all the way from blue all the way up to sort of like a red type color. Now, in each of those, so each category has a different color. So you start at the bottom and you have like violet light, then you have blue light, then you have cyan light, then you have green light, okay, and then amber, yellow, red, and so on. And this is the visible light spectrum. So this is what your eyes can see. Invisible light, which we won't go into too deeply, is things like infrared and UV, okay? So you can't see it, but it still has an impact on your body physiologically speaking. So at the lower end of the spectrum where you have violet and blue light, the wavelengths of those lights are short, okay? And as you go up the spectrum through to green, cyan, green, then you go into like the ambers, yellows, and reds. It gets longer and longer and longer. Now, the energy obviously is pretty much sort of concurrent across all the spectrum, but when you're packing energy into smaller wavelengths, it's more intense, it's more intensified, and it's actually the lower end of the spectrum. So blue light, for instance, is 400 nanometers to 495 nanometers. Now, in that wavelength of light, you see the color blue, and it's all very intense light. It's very short wavelengths, full of energy. Okay, now that's great during the day when you need to feel alert, awake, and improve your mood. But too much of it during the day is going to damage your eyes because of how intense it is. Overloads the eyes, damages the mitochondria, and damages DHA in the eye. Really not good things. Now, green light acts in the same way. So green light runs from 495 to about 570 nanometers. But the problem area for melatonin disruption after dark is from 400 to 550 nanometers. And I can link studies if people want to see it as well. So we made sure our red lenses completely block everything, 100% from that 400 to 550, and then leave everything else intact. Because you can get brands of glasses, and look, this is in no way bashing any brands, by the way. I want to make that clear because everyone has their own opinions. But something like True Dark, okay, True Dark blocks all blue, all green, all yellow, all amber light. But a lot of customers that come to BLUblox have a problem with that because they put these glasses on and all they can see is red. And when you actually look at the literature, it's actually unnecessary to block wavelengths of light after 550 nanometers. So you're kind of just doing it for the sake of it to make it sound better. Oh, we block everything by red light. But, we live in the real world, we want to watch telly, okay? We're not going to sit in darkness under candlelight. It's not going to happen. The extremist of biohackers maybe, but I sure as hell am not giving up watching the football on a Saturday night. So I wear my glasses and I want to see the telly. So, a lot of people that have worn True Dark actually come across the BLUblox, try our glasses, get equally as good a sleep, but can still actually not have any visual impairment and actually see yellows and oranges as well as your reds and some green as well, because the green above 550 is no problem at all. So, it was finding that balance. We wanted optimal without being unoptimal, but also without being overkill.
So basically, it's not only to make it all the way red to block all the green light, but you actually can leave a little bit of the green light. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah. So from 550 to 570, you can leave. So let me give you an analogy as well. So I was having a conversation with someone on Facebook a couple of months ago, and he was basically adamant that you had to block everything by red light. And I said, why do you think that? And we got into this discussion, and the guy said to me, he goes, well, what about fire? And I said, what about it? And he said, it's red light. And I was like, are you sure about that? So when you look at, so what I did was I went outside and I put on my barbecue, because in Australia we have a lot of barbies. Switched on the barbecue, and there was flames obviously coming up from the barbecue. Now, I'm pretty lazy when it comes to my barbecue, and I don't scrape the meat remnants off, so it catches fire all the time. So anyway, there was a fire going on in my barbecue. It was like proper like pouring out. It wasn't gas related. It's a gas barbecue underneath, but on top, some of the food was burning, and there was this flame coming up. And I took my BLUblockers and had them on at the time. I took a picture of the fire, and then I went up to the fire, put my BLUblockers in front of the fire, took another picture. Completely different colours. Now, the reason being is there is small amounts of green light within fire, but also you've got yellow and amber light within fire as well. So his argument was, fire's red, and it's actually, well, no, look at the spectrum report and wavelength of fire, and yes, it's predominantly red, but there's amber and yellow in there as well. And ancestrally speaking, we all sat around a campfire. We felt calm, relaxed, helped melatonin secrete, didn't get in the way of that, and sent us to sleep. So, the argument is flawed. Yellow and amber light are not going to have any effect on sleep. The only three colours that do are blue, cyan, and green.
Blue, cyan, and green. And this is at the beginning of the spectrum. After this, it doesn't affect our sleep. But do this light affect the mitochondria or no? The green with more longer wavelength.
Yeah, it will. I mean, the different wavelengths. So the way mitochondria work with blue light, in a nutshell, and this comes from any blue light. Okay, so it can come from any source. Blue light will penetrate the cell. Okay, and it will, after a while, it will create free radicals. Reactive oxygen species. So what they do is they basically wreak havoc within the cell. They cause damage. They cause the ATPase, which is located within the mitochondria, not to spin as well, which I'm sure a lot of people have heard in the literature. Now, what this does is it reduces the mitochondria's ability to make energy efficiently. And this is a problem because it makes you feel tired, sluggish, and disease can actually result from that as well, like cancers and metabolic diseases. Now, the body is brilliant, okay? Metabolically speaking, we always have, if a certain thing in nature does damage, so like blue light is causing these reactive oxygen species in the mitochondria, nature seems to have a fix for that. And the fix for that is actually antioxidants. Now, the one antioxidant that cures all this blue light damage within the mitochondria is melatonin. Okay, so people think melatonin just makes you sleep, but it's actually an antioxidant. So it enters so when we produce melatonin after dark, that then goes into the mitochondria, and it actually neutralizes those reactive oxygen species and repairs any damage that's been caused. So you're probably now beginning to see the problem here with exposing yourself to blue light chronically after dark. Melatonin can only be produced from serotonin after dark, and in the presence of darkness. So we say in our line of work, physiological darkness, and physiological darkness is the absence of blue and green light. So without the absence of blue and green light, we cannot manufacture and produce melatonin. So what's happening is our mitochondria that are damaged during the day through exposure to blue light then can't repair themselves properly if we're not producing enough melatonin. You're like going to have, say, just to put it in numbers, say, just for ease, you're going to get like a times 1,000 damage from blue light in your mitochondria, not make enough melatonin at night, say times 100, and you're going to have a massive deficit of damage, which is going to accelerate aging. It's going to cause, cell replication to become destabilized, which can form cancer. And it's going to mess up your whole entire endocrine system, like your cortisol, your insulin, your ghrelin, your leptin, and really mess you up biologically. So, yes, it will damage your mitochondria, which even with sunlight, it's going to happen to some extent. But that repair will happen if we live ancestrally and block blue and green light after dark, allowing melatonin to antioxidize the reactive oxygen species that are actually present in your mitochondria.
But what about the other extreme? What about if you live in complete darkness all day?
Yeah, and that's going to be a problem as well. So if you live in complete, so basically how the human endocrine system works is it runs on a clock-like system. Okay, so what we call it is a body clock, circadian rhythm, biological rhythms, those types of things is what it's called, and it's a 24-hour clock. Okay, so that clock is present in every cell of the body, and every cell functions very differently depending on the time of the day and from environmental cues. Now, the biggest environmental cue for our body clocks is light and darkness. So during different times of the day, different exposures to light, different hormones will come into play. So as you can imagine, when you wake up in the morning, I'll talk you through like our basic system. When you wake up in the morning and you see the sunrise, you're going to set a cascade of hormonal events into action that will later lead to sleep in the evening. So what happens is when you look at, without sunglasses on, when you look at the sun in the morning, you are going to produce things like dopamine, serotonin, and cortisol. Okay, so dopamine makes you feel good. Serotonin makes you feel awake and are basically ready to hit the day. It also comes into play later on to produce melatonin, which helps you sleep. And you also have cortisol. So your cortisol, which is your stress hormone, spikes in the morning. And that's really good because it makes you feel alert and it kickstarts you. It's like kicks you into gear. A bit like when people say in the morning, oh, I've got to have a coffee to wake up. That's a slightly different sort of methodology because it's adrenaline that's raised. But looking at the sun gives you that kickstart. It raises that cortisol level and away we go. So if you don't have that in the morning and you don't start producing serotonin and you're in complete darkness, you're not going to be able to produce melatonin later on in the evening. You'll have some stores of it probably for the first 2 or 3 days, but if you live in complete darkness, you're not going to produce serotonin efficiently, which is not going to produce melatonin. No antioxidants, so loads of issues with that, but also no melatonin to help you sleep. So you're going to be just like chronically sick. You need the sunlight as well to charge your mitochondria. So when you look at the sun, you have high concentrations of DHA in your eyes. And what DHA is, it's the only fat that's present in the body that can actually be turned into a DC electric current. So what happens there is sunlight, UV light, so it can't even be blue light, it has to be UV light from the sun, hits your retina, hits DHA, and it actually turns that DHA into a DC electric current, which is used to, number one, charge your mitochondria, but also improve heteroplasmy rates, which is how your cell can function and generate ATP efficiently. Increases your redox potential and makes you a real sort of optimal person. So yeah, basically without sunlight, you're pretty screwed metabolically speaking.
So at the morning, you can do two things. One is to get a full spectrum sunlight to produce all these hormones and to be awake, to feel awake, to produce also cortisol, which will bootstrap your day. And you can also, for example, some people do exercise. This makes probably some of the same things, right? But what they...
Yeah, exercise is good, but you want to be exercising under sunlight. Now, if you're looking to lose weight, okay, diet will only take you so far. So ketogenic diet, great, brilliant. Even a calorie deficit as well will work to a certain extent for people. But what was discovered recently was something called melanopsin, okay? Now, melanopsin is found historically, also they thought only in the eyes. And melanopsin basically is like it translates light, okay? And it helps filter that light through to various areas within the body. So for instance, through the eyes, it filters it into the suprachiasmatic nucleus pineal gland, and it sends hormonal responses and hormonal secretion out to the body.
What secretion? What was the thing you talked about before 10 seconds?
So melanopsin. Melanopsin. So it's a photoreceptor that translates light through the retina. Now, recently they've discovered it in the skin, in the fat cells, and in the brain. So that means that you could have your eyes closed and still be exposed to light and still have the same effects on your body, both good and bad. So what they discovered was, right, they discovered melanopsin was in the fat cells. So if you exercised under sunlight, they discovered that fat lipid, so your fat cells are called lipids, your lipids particle size is actually reduced, meaning that if you exercised under sunlight, you would have greater weight loss than if you exercised under artificial light or in the nighttime. It was really fascinating, and that really sort of leads us into saying that, you know, this is exactly why I'm sat here in long sleeves, because the blue light environment I'm sat in, I have melanopsin receptors in my skin, which is sensing this light and also contributing to DNA and mitochondrial damage. So, you know, I also have a hood on as well if I need to put that on, and I will later on, just not now because otherwise I'll look like a freak to your audience. So I'll put it on later on as well, like before bed, and my hood will go up and I won't have anything touching my skin. And, you know, until recently, I thought that was a load of rubbish. But when you actually look at the literature, it does have a similar effect. So you've got to be careful with that as well.
And you can't fake sunlight with artificial light somehow.
That is correct. So we spoke a little bit earlier about different visible spectrums. But what you don't have in, so say for instance, you created an amazing light bulb that had the same, for internal daytime use, not nighttime use, because you wouldn't want that. So say that you created a light that had the same frequencies of light as the sun, you would literally not be able to recreate the intensity, the lux of the light. So, you know, you also wouldn't, excuse me, you also wouldn't be able to, you know, really recreate the UV side of things as well. And what you've got to remember with sunlight is people just think, oh, sunlight is just this same thing throughout the day. It's not, it changes. So in the morning, it's really high in infrared light, mainly sort of red light. You know, when you see the sunrise and sunset, it's typically not blue, is it? You get a red sky at night, shepherd's delight, red sky in the morning, shepherd's warning, very old British sayings. You know, but during the day it's blue. So as the sun sort of does its, well, it doesn't move obviously, but as the earth rotates around the sun, you're going to get different types of light and intensities come through. You know, so it's to recreate that internally, which would be so difficult. And during the day, when we use LED and fluorescent lights, it's very high in the blue spectrum. So it spikes up in the blue spectrum. And then there's not really much red and not really much orange and all the beneficial light. And do you know why they did this? They did this to save money. They wanted to make energy efficient light bulbs. Okay, so 50, 60 years ago, they had incandescent lights. Okay, and now these were really, and I know this because I still have them in my house, and they blow out literally once a week because I use them so much. So I'm constantly forever buying them to refit. They give out like a warm glow, like a warm, low lux, sort of orangey, sort of red type glow, and they hardly have any blue light in them. So I make sure I fit most of my lights in the house with those types of bulbs. But as you know, as history went on, new inventions came out. They wanted to make, obviously, everything was about saving the environment. It was about saving energy. So you didn't have to, you know, use oil, gas and coal to power all this electricity, blah, blah, blah. But obviously that's really affected our health because because these new LED and fluorescent lights are full of blue light and we're switching them on after dark. So, you know, we spoke just then about the sun being like a beacon into the eyes and telling us to be awake and alert. So you can see the problem after dark because we've got loads of mini suns in our house. Like you've got a sun up here, there's a sun over there, and we're looking at those lights without blue blockers on, and it's going in through like melanopsin's translating it, and it's saying, oh, it's daytime still. I can have high cortisol levels. I don't need to produce melatonin. So what do you think happens if your cortisol levels are high throughout the day? You don't sleep, you get chronically stressed, you get depression, anxiety, and eventually all that in extreme cases can lead to suicide. So, you're constantly exposed to this stuff and your hormones are so high and just messed up that, it's not working. It's going to cause these metabolic diseases. It's going to cause suicide, depression, things like that. It's a big problem.
And I want to add something is that aside from the energy saving, they also made the light from our monitors to flicker. So they turn them on and off all the time to save even more energy, but that is super bad for our eyes. And this is actually my specialty with iris. So it's you also want to remove the flicker from your monitor, right?
Yes. 100%. And I used Flux for ages. And then I did a real funny test. Okay. So I got my phone and I filmed my screen. Okay. And then I put it in slow-mo and film my screen again. Now I encourage everyone to do that on their screen. Okay. Because you will see just how bad the flicker actually is. The older the screen, the worse it is. And it was just literally like just bang, 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 flicking across. And I was like, God, no, that is just destroying my eyes. So anyway, Flux didn't sort that out for me. So I actually used your software. I posted it in my group, Light and Health, and people were saying, use Iris. And I tried it and I was like, oh, the flicker's still there. And I think you came on and said, turn your brightness right up and try it again. So I turned the brightness of blue right up on my screen. Then I put your application Iris on it, put it to red, and then filmed it again, and there was no flicker whatsoever. It's incredible.
Yes, and this is Iris is using one other types of reducing of the brightness, which doesn't use this flicker. It's more of changing the white point. So this is why when you control the brightness with Iris, you don't get the flicker basically. About the other types of glasses, for example, you can actually have another question. The DHA and the melanopsin is most concentrated in the eyes, or it's more on the skin? In quantity?
Most concentrated in the eyes, yeah. So the eyes are the main gateway. They really are. But the skin still has these things in them, and they still will have an effect. So, it depends how optimal you want to be. Like you don't have to worry about it hitting your skin, and you can wear BLUblox glasses and sleep really well. But, we're in the business at BLUblox of being optimal. So we want optimal eyewear. We want, to be optimal, tell everyone these facts as well. And, we don't want to just sell glasses and say, yeah, just wear your glasses. That's cool. That's fine. We want to actually educate people as well. So when you actually join our mailing list, we don't spam out things like buy our glasses. It's not our style. Like, we'll have sales through there and we'll let you know every now and again when we have those. But we send out blogs. So little things like, how to improve your lighting environment, how to, protect yourself from blue light hitting the skin and stuff like that. So every time there's a latest update on blue light, how it's affecting your body and green light, we write a blog about it and we send it to our mailing list. So by buying a pair of our glasses or even just subscribing to our site, you are going to get literally a lifetime long education for free. Because every time something comes out, breaking news about blue light or something else you can do to really help improve your sleep and health, we will send it to you via email. So it's very important to be, signed up to us. It's, it's not a sales tool for us. It's an education tool. We want to make sure everyone has all the information.
Yes, and it's actually both for anyone who is listening this, go and join the Andy and BLUblox subscription list, and also the Light and Health group on Facebook, which I think is the best group in the world about blue light and all these things. And I especially like all your posts about little easy tricks and knowledge about blue light. Do this same thing goes to the subscription list or no? There are other things.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. It's more our blog. So Light and Health's great to join as well, because I just give little nuggets of information, and then blogs will go out via email to people. So the blogs are just a little bit more, still very simple to understand, but just a little bit more information for people that want to delve in a little bit more into the literature. And they're all backed up with studies as well. So, we're not just, we're not in the business of just making guesses about things. We want to use the latest science and I've always been evidence-based. And until evidence is brought to light, then it's only a theory. And that's where a lot of people go wrong. They sort of listen to other people that are into biohacking that don't have evidence to back up their claims. They're just anecdotes. And that's just not how we work. We want to take the literature, the science, we want to see it, study that. And we understand that a lot of this is so new. Sometimes there aren't studies, but they are coming to light, and they're really shedding light on the whole situation. So it's what we like to see. And this is why within our group, there's no censorship. Now, I allow a lot of posts in the group that I actually don't agree with. But I want people to have all the sides of the argument. I want everyone to look and make their own decision. Like, for instance, I'm not a huge advocate of coffee. I don't think you should drink caffeinated coffee. I think it's a terrible thing. But a lot of people have posted in the group recently. One of my friends, Doris Lowe, actually posts quite a lot in there about caffeine being really good for you. And, I respect Doris, I respect her views, but I don't agree with her in that instance. But I feel people should listen to that, and they should make their own decisions. I don't want to sit here being a guru or a preacher saying blue light, no caffeine, blah, blah, blah.
BLUblox.
Yeah, BLUblox. I want to say my piece, okay, which is like, this is my bit. This is why I believe it. Here's the evidence to back it up. Doris can say her thing, other people can say other things, then people can make their own decision. I'm never offended by that. So if people want to post in the group things that I don't agree with, I'll approve it. So it's fine.
Yes, so everyone go and join the Light and Health group on Facebook. And actually, before starting this live video, I read a lot about a lot of the posts, and I especially have a good lot on some blue light pills or something like this, or melatonin pills.
Yeah, blue light blocking pills. Like, what the hell? I think it's really just to try and replenish vitamin A into the eye, which helps translate blue light. But it's just crazy. And I think I wrote on because someone posted it, and I wrote on there saying, "How does a pill distinguish between the blue light from the sun and the blue light from your light?" So that got a few laughs. So it's funny. But those things are good. I like to get them.
And what is the absorption time of this pill? I mean, when do you need to drink it to remove the right quantity of blue light?
Yeah, it's like a potion, isn't it? Like, drink this magic potion and you won't have to endure the nasty side effects of blue light. It's like...
So to summarize some things, block both blue and green light during the night. Have a full spectrum sunlight exposure during the day. During the night, you can actually wear a hoodie to not get blue light on your skin, and during the day you can be, naked or part naked to get the whole full spectrum sunlight to your whole body. And maybe if you use computer during the night, you can combine blue blocking software with glasses. Is this correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, absolutely. It's like a double protection. Like, definitely do it. Because the thing is, right, say that I'm on my computer now, and Iris is all installed, so I haven't got any blue light coming out. I'm protecting my eyes, but as we said before, melanopsin's in the skin. So if I'm looking at a computer without Iris, but wearing my blue blockers, it's still hitting my skin. So, and I can't completely cover up, it'd just be silly. So, having some software like Iris works perfectly with blue light blocking, especially when you're on the computer, because you're stopping it from hitting your skin. So it's essential, in fact. It's essential to have.
And Tasio, I'm not a preacher of Iris. There are other blue blocking things which you need to measure if they're effective, but you can also place a transparent sheet on your laptop, for example, to block all the blue light during the day and night. And you can combine this thing, but the important thing is that you also have melanopsin on your skin, not just in your eyes. So talk about a little bit about the other types of glasses you have.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously we know a brief summary, like you just said there, is that, blue and green light after dark, you have to block 100% of it. Otherwise, you're not going to make melatonin, which you need. Okay. Otherwise, you're not going to sleep and you're going to have all sorts of disease. So that's that covered. Okay. Has to be red. Red makes you go to bed. Okay. So I'll start with these. Okay. So these are yellow tinted. Okay. So these are actually using a special tint that our lab has created called Summer Glow. Okay. Now, Summer Glow does two things. It blocks damaging blue light during the day from 400 to 450 nanometers. So this is just artificial blue, by the way. So as we said before, the spectrum of blue light goes straight up at 450 from lights and from computers, and then it drops down. So we need to minimize that spike. So we completely take it out with these glasses. There's too much of that blue spike is going to cause cortisol levels, stress hormone, to be continually high, which is going to cause depression, anxiety, seasonal affective disorder, and chronic stress, things like that. And then also, when you put them on, and it's so hard to obviously show on here, but they actually they brighten up what you're seeing. So it's crazy. You put them on like when the sky's grey and look up at the sky, and it just looks like this really bright sort of grey. It's a really weird concept. But that sort of brightness has been scientifically shown in the literature, whilst removing that blue light as well, to really increase your mood and make you feel better. And, I know this because I'm British, and there's one day in February when you always get the most suicides in the UK. And it's always the really short, grey, shitty day, really bad. And people just need to wear these glasses because they take away that sadness. Okay, they're sad beaters, mood boosters, but they also protect against the blue light as well, because the blue light it's a double whammy. Blue light's causing depression, getting more and more depressed. More blue light you see, more depressed, and then you get the seasonal affective disorder because there's no sun as well to make dopamine and serotonin, the feel-good hormones. You're not getting any of it. And putting these on just helps raise those hormones as well, which are neurotransmitters, which makes you feel so much better. It's just great. So you wear those during the day. Don't wear them outside. You want to be wearing them just when you're indoors and you just feel like it's summer. You look out the window and you'll be like, wow, it's like summer, even though it's like, snowing. And it's just such a mood booster. So you need them. People just think, block blue light after dark and green light. That's all I need to do. But you need to look at it during the day as well, because you've still got this intense frequency of light pounding down on you from all different angles, from the computer that we're using, from lights up above. It's just completely destroying your mitochondria. Now, what else it causes is it causes something called digital eye strain, okay? Now, when you're actually at a computer, if you haven't got iris or, a screen on or flux or something like that, the blue light is penetrating your eyes and causing all sorts of damage because you're just exposed to it constantly, bombarded. And it degenerates your eyes. So you start to get headaches and dry eyes and itchy eyes, and you just feel exhausted. You see people sat at a computer doing this, rubbing their eyes. And that's a sign of digital eye strain. Now, if you don't block the blue light during the day in that 400 nanometer range, you're actually, over time, your digital eye strain is going to turn into macular degeneration, which is like short-sightedness. You're going to have to wear glasses, prescription glasses, which, by the way, BLUblox do, because so many people have damaged eyes. So that's why we created these. So these filter blue light. So these reduce the blue light in that 450 nanometer range. Now, we created these for people that don't have seasonal affective disorder, but also for people that work in an office environment. Now, we want to bring blue blocking glasses to the world, and we want people to wear them. Now, people are more likely to wear these in the office than they are these, because these are very leery. Now, these are optimal. These are very good, but obviously yellow is better. But what these do is these are basically for protecting against digital eye strain. So you wear these in front of the computer, and it filters down the blue light, which is actually causing your digital eye strain and your short-sightedness. So these are what we call computer glasses. So we've developed a material that, rather than a tint, because the tint is a bit leery for some people, so this material is actually placed in between the lenses, and then they're basically heat pressed together, and it basically, I don't even know if you can see it on there, but when blue, and you probably won't because there's not really much blue light in here at the moment, but when blue light hits it, you see it reflect off the lens, and also the purple as well. It comes off the violet light. So that helps filter out the damaging blue light, which actually reduces the incidences of digital eye strain, dry eye. So I wear these if I'm just doing a light bit of computer work. And, you know, I'm lucky at work because we have these horrible fluorescent lights above us. And I just got building management to remove mine. I have Iris on my screen. I have a little salt lamp next to the screen as well, and I sit next to a window, so I'm actually okay. But you know, if you're in a chronically lit office with no windows, all really fluorescent lights, you're probably going to want to be wearing these just because they're more bang for your buck.
And what is this salt lamp biohack? Aside from this, on the video, I see how from your glasses, my image contains both blue and green, and I'm seeing myself in your glasses a lot better than with the other glasses. So we actually, all the listeners see the effect of the glasses, and they work. They work because if you look at the Andy eyes right now, you can see how the image from the screen is reflected back to the screen. And I think they also have a reflective coating, or no?
They do, yes. So anti-glare. So you're not going to just see like images and glare in your eyes. So yeah, I can see no blue or green. I don't even know if you've got blue or green on or anything. All I can see is black and white and a little bit of green on your bed sheets there, but maybe that's blue. I don't know. So it's they're really, really good. It's just it's very, very good for after dark. So obviously it's 7:45 p.m. here in Perth, Australia. So yeah, I need to be making sure my eyes are protected from blue light as it's nighttime.
Yes, and it wasn't for the video. You're probably going with the hoodie, right?
As soon as we're done, it's going up.
So what is the salt lamp biohack? I was interested in this.
Yeah, so a salt lamp is like a Himalayan pink salt lamp. So when you actually put it on, it does two things. Gives out red light, which obviously counterbalances the blue that's in my environment. Because obviously, you know, the sunlight gives out red, orange, all the colors. So I'm trying to simulate sunlight, although you can never replace it. I will caveat that. But it also as well, it releases negative ions into the atmosphere, which is obviously very good for us because we want that negative charge around us. That's just what we want to do. That's why we ground, you know, that's why we take our shoes off and walk on the grass to get that negative charge into our body, which helps power and charge up your mitochondria. So a salt lamp's great, you know, it's so cheap. You just put it next to your desk, switch it on, and you've got this warm glow, and it balances out the nasty blue light. And it's just another hack to help improve your light environment, but also as well, like you're getting that negative charge like around you, and you know, just really charging up that mitochondria.
Do you have some other biohacks for people to use?
Sorry, what was that?
Do you have some other biohacks for people to use?
Yeah, there's a few out there. Grounding that I've just obviously mentioned. So what that is that's generating negative charge from the earth. So ancestrally, we would have walked around barefoot, and then the earth contains a negative charge, which will come up into our bodies and basically charge up our mitochondria. It makes more energy, makes us more efficient. Not wearing sunglasses, because UV light from the sun hits your retina and turns DHA into a negative current, DC electric current, which charges your mitochondria. So don't wear sunglasses. What else can I tell you? Take cold showers, because that improves the health of your mitochondria, makes you feel full of life and energy. Ketogenic diet, obviously, as well. That's a great hack. A lot of people vouch for nootropics, but I haven't tried them, so I can't comment on that.
What are nootropics?
They're sort of like supplements, like CBD oil, things like that, that you take that sort of cognitively enhance you. But I'm not really sort of into that kind of thing. So maybe down the line I'll look into it. A lot of people like specialize in it, you know, and it helps like cure things and stuff like that. But I won't sort of go into it because I don't know it well enough to be able to educate anyone on that. What else in there? No caffeine. I don't think you should have caffeine, because I think that what caffeine does, and this is why I don't like it, is there's two types of sleep, okay? So, or hormones that will lead to sleep. So the first one is obviously when it's dark and you've had good sunlight exposure during the day, you make melatonin, and that makes you feel sleepy and relaxed, and you go to sleep. But you also have something called sleep pressure, okay? Now, sleep pressure is basically your body's running loads of metabolic processes during the day, mainly in your brain, okay? Now, when you run a metabolic process in your body, you have waste products. Now, that waste product is called adenosine, and adenosine builds up in your brain during the day. So the more stuff you do during the day, the more adenosine builds up, and it gets to a point where it's like, wow, the sleep pressure is really high, I need to go to sleep. So for instance, say you do loads of exercise in the day, you feel tired, don't you? So people think, it's because you've used up all your energy. Maybe, but it's probably because you've used a lot of metabolic processes, your adenosine levels are building up and you're feeling sleepy. So what caffeine does, it actually blocks, and this is fact, it blocks the adenosine receptors. So basically your adenosine is building up your sleep pressure, but it's not communicating to your brain that you're tired. So what happens when you drink a cup of coffee? You feel alert and awake, but that's not natural because your adenosine levels are going up and up and up. So, people say don't drink coffee after 2 p.m. or blah, blah, blah. But you shouldn't, because you're blocking the adenosine receptors. So your sleep pressure isn't going to be translated into sleep. And the second reason I don't like caffeine is it gives you, it kick starts people's day in the wrong way. So they take a coffee in the morning and it releases adrenaline, and adrenaline is fight or flight, okay? So when we have adrenaline released ancestrally, we'd either run away because we're about to be eaten, or we would fight the guy next to us because he's trying to steal our wife, okay? They're the two kind of things. And then we would be fine. Then our hormone levels come down. We'd either be dead or we would have killed the other guy. So we'd all be good. Or we'd run away and we'd hid in a tree from a lion. But what we're doing is people are drinking their coffee in the morning and brilliant, waking them up, fine. You can get the same effect, if not better, by looking at the sun, just to increase cortisol, by the way. But then what people are doing, right, they're sitting at their desk in an office, tapping away like drones, like we all do, and they're drinking away their coffee. And then they can't fight anyone. You can't get up and fight your boss and, smash your computer or whatever. So you're building up all this adrenaline in cortisol in your body, and you're going to get even more, and all the blue light that's smashing into your eyes. Think how stressed you are. No wonder we've got a civilization full of depressant and anxious people. It's terrible. But yeah, I won't drink caffeine, and I've never felt better. I used to have really bad anxiety, and as soon as I started blocking blue light and dropping caffeine, I felt incredible.
This is really great tip, because I know a lot of biohackers which actually use coffee, which I don't understand basically. But you taught something really interesting also about the sunglasses. Why there are so many sunglasses manufacturers and sunglasses if they are actually not so healthy during the day?
So what was your question? So why are there so many sunglasses manufacturers? Yeah.
If they're not effective.
Because the media think that UV is damaging. Okay, they think that it's going to destroy your cells, destroy your eyes, make you get what do they call it, cataracts, etc. So this is where I stand on it. Okay, and this is a lot of people would differ in my opinion. I think UV is much like vitamin A. Okay, vitamin A is essential. Okay, it's essential for processes in the eye, but too much vitamin A is toxic. Okay, and it's not good for you. And I feel the same about UV. I think that UV light from the sun at specific times of the day is essential. It's 100% essential for the body, and you need to be able to be out in it, building up your tolerance levels and having a good amount in it. But I think too much of it could be toxic. And I think that could lead to problems like, cataracts and issues such as maybe even skin cancers. I don't know. Like I'm still on the fence about it. I think that if you have too much of it, like if you go outside at 9 a.m. in the morning and do nothing but lie in the sun and don't seek the shade, you're going to have some problems. And the reason I think that, again, the literature points to it and tells you this is the problem, but you still need UV, by the way. I'm not saying you've got to be out there. You've got to take these off, take your sunglasses off and get it. But look at sort of other sort of hunter type animals. So again, I'll probably get slammed for this because I'm going to say a carnivore. So during the day, what would a lion do? It would get up in the morning, and at dawn, it would start to hunt, okay? And then during the evening, it would go out again and hunt. But what does it do during the day? It lies in the shade, okay? It lies out of the sun, it seeks the shade, it cools off, and it relaxes. And a lot of animals do that. And I take a lot of my learnings from the animal kingdom. And, you rarely see animals out in the heat of the day, hunting and fighting and doing that kind of thing. They do it in the cooler periods of the day when the infrared's coming down, when the UV's not as strong as during the day. And, there's another major issue with Australia is the fact that our ozone layer is so depleted over here. The UV is so much more intense. So I'm always skeptical to say to someone at 12 o'clock in the day, go out and stare at the sun in Australia, because I don't think that's a good idea. I really don't. There's not enough protection in the ozone to warrant that. But having said that, I'm never outside for long periods of time where I need to actually think, I need to protect my skin or anything like that. Never wear sun cream. It's just sensible, it's just getting your morning sunlight for between 5 minutes or a couple of hours is no problem. And if you actually get that morning sunlight, you're going to be less susceptible to sunburns and things like that during the more intense periods of sun. And then, you can go out sort of later in the evening when it's sort of starting to cool off. The UV index has gone down a little bit just to get what you need. So, the problem is it's a double-edged sword, it's a double-edged sword here. You need the UV, but do we know, is there enough evidence out there to say that you can't overdose on UV? And from what I'm reading, I think you can, and I think you need to be careful. But I don't think you should wear sunglasses, and I don't think you should wear sun cream. I think you should just take logical steps, which is don't spend 15 hours if you're getting 15 hours of sunlight during the day, like directly on your skin, just lying there basking. I think that's going to be a problem. But I think if you're just sensible about it, get in the shade during the high peaks of the day, like your ancestors would have done, and just be out in those morning and evening sun, you're going to go a long way to achieving optimal health.
Can we use the same analogy like with the coffee and sleep with the glasses and UV light? So, for example, the coffee is blocking our adenosine, and this is not natural. And the same thing goes for the sunglasses. They're blocking UV light, but we don't have sunglasses on our skin. And can we use the same analogy?
100%, yeah. So you need UV to go into your eyes, because that's where your DHA is concentrated. And as we said before, DHA is the only fat that is stored in the eye that actually can be turned into that DC electric current. So if you block UV, you're not going to have that DC electric current from DHA. So your mitochondria just aren't going to produce, ATP very well. It's going to become gummed up in the ATPase, and you're just going to start having major mitochondrial issues like, cancers down the line, melanomas on the skin could even happen. You're going to not produce, insulin could become a problem if it's affecting your pancreas. So glucose metabolism can become affected. So yeah, you really do need it. And you also need it on your skin, because UV is extremely important for, nitrous oxide synthesis into D3. So you need vitamin D. So many people are deficient in vitamin D. And Australia, right, we get 300 days of sunshine a year, yet we have the most vitamin D deficient people in the world. And do you know why? Because they wear sunglasses and they put sun cream on. So they can't produce vitamin D. So it's wretched. It's terrible. So yeah, God, no, don't wear sun cream. It's just the worst thing. And, not just blocking the UV, it's full of chemicals that are just causing all sorts of issues. So yeah, I wouldn't be wearing sun cream or sunglasses for those reasons.
This was super cool explanation. I didn't know this about Australia. Is this true that you have the biggest vitamin D deficiency?
That is true, yeah. And we also have one of the highest rates of skin cancer as well. Now, obviously, there's lots of theories as to why. It could be a lot of, because we have so much sun, we're rubbing a lot of sun cream on our body, which is got full of chemicals, which is causing melanoma. It could be something to do with the ozone layer, which is very depleted and thin in Australia. So we're getting very intense UV all the time, which is overdosing and causing these melanomas. Or it could even be a chronic exposure to blue light. But I don't know. I don't know about the blue light side of things for melanoma. I think that, sun cream and chronic exposure to ozone depleted intense UV is probably more of an issue for us in Australia. So we just have to be extra careful down here, I think. And people like Jack Cruz have come out and said that Australia, because of the ozone layer, is really not ideal to live in. So we just have to be careful. We just have to manage that, understand our environment and manage it and hack it, so we're not going to expose ourselves and risk potential issues. I'd rather not sort of take the risk in some situations. You want to get your UV light, but do I want a chance like basking out in the sun for 10 hours a day in Australia? No, probably not. I don't want to risk that, given what I know about the ozone.
Super cool. How to get more DHA? Should we supplement or from the seafood?
Yeah, so the only true way to get DHA is from seafood. So it's very highly concentrated in shellfish, so oysters, and things like salmon, clams, mussels, those types of fish. So shellfish is good. There's a company that someone called Matt Blackburn runs called Mitalife. I think it's changed its name recently to Symbiotica, which is like algae type DHA, which really, he says is great because it's like organic and it's not polluted, because a lot of people have issues with metal content of fish. I don't particularly have an issue with it myself. But, if you have a concern about that, you might want to look at Matt's product. But the main way is seafood. Now, what a lot of people try and supplement on is fish oil, and I'm massively against fish oil. And it is because when you take fish, is very high in something called polyunsaturated fat. Okay, so puffer. So what happens to these oils when they're exposed to light and heat is they go rancid. Okay, so you obviously understand keto, and you probably understand that if you use cottonseed oil, peanut oil, or sunflower oil, vegetable oils, they're polyunsaturated fats and they go rancid easily. And that's what causes lesions in your arteries, which then get clogged up and you have heart attacks and strokes and things like that. So what happens is when you take fish oil from a fish and put it into a pill form, if they are not stored at the correct temperature, so in the fridge, you're going to have an issue. You're going to be ingesting rancid, polyunsaturated, adulterated fat, which is actually going to cause you more damage than good. And the thing is, people say, "Oh yeah, I bought mine off the shelf and I put them in the fridge." That's not good enough, because how do you know how they were manufactured? How do you know how they were transported? And also, how do you know exactly what levels of DHA are in there? There's just no substitute. I hate supplements. I won't do it. The only one that I will do is Astaxanthin, because that is a natural sunscreen and also really good for like the skin and retinal health. And I don't really fancy eating green algae, just off the seabed and rocks and stuff. So I get that in pill form. But stuff you can get naturally, then just think twice about supplementing, unless you've got a real chronic issue, I think.
What was the natural supplement protector of the skin again?
Astaxanthin. So yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful.
Yeah, we need to include a link about this in the description. So DHA, is DHA a product of the fish oil or no?
Yeah, it's in the fish oil. And that's why people take it. It's like loaded with DHA apparently, but it can go rancid. You want to be eating it from from the flesh of an animal, or from like the oysters, if you're vegan, obviously.
But it's different from the omega-3, 6, and 9 fat. It's different molecule, or it's a product of this molecule?
No, it's an omega-3. So it's just part of an omega-3. So omega-6 is it's needed as well by the body, but too much of it is inflammatory. But yeah, omega-3s, it's that kind of thing. The craze that was omega-3s, that's people were starting to infuse it into eggs and bread at one point, I think. But yeah, it's mainly concentrated in fish and oily fish.
So the tip is, if you're going to take omega-3, put it in the fridge and prefer to eat raw fish, to cook it, basically to cook it, or to eat sushi. I'm not sure.
Oh, sushi's better. Raw is always better, because if you start cooking stuff, you're going to change its chemical complexities. But obviously, if you want some salmon and you want to cook it, it's better than not having salmon. Oily fish like mackerel is really good as well. Kippers and sardines and things like that. But you're best off getting it the best, because let me explain this. I follow. With my diet, I look at the nutrient density of foods. Okay, so I look at how much bang for my buck I get from eating specific foods, and the top 3 foods you can eat for the most nutrients, and this also includes DHA, is oysters, salmon, and beef liver. Okay, the 3 most healthiest things you can possibly eat. Those 3 things. If you put your diet around that, you're going to be on point. So, I look at the nutrient density of food. So oysters, always once or twice a week, have some oysters, always have some salmon, and liver as well. So I get liverwurst and make that, which is like a pate. So I don't have to eat just a big bit of liver, just make it into a pate, get some bacon in there, some herbs and spices. It's beautiful. And it's so good.
When I was in Belgium, I ate oysters for the first time, and it was awful experience. Basically, I'm not sure. Do you like it? It's like the raw big oyster, right? Which is uncooked.
Yeah, just straight up, get them down. I have a bit of lemon on there or something like that. I've got to get some flavors on it. But very big in Australia, oysters as well. We have actual restaurants that only serve oysters and nothing else. So it's quite easy to get for us. But yeah, they are an acquired taste. So, don't fret if you don't like them. Just go and get some salmon or some mackerel or something like that. But, yeah, they're just a good food.
Do eggs contain DHA, eggs from chicken?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, just not as much. Probably you'd have to eat a lot of them, but they do. Yeah, so you can still have that. They've got omega-3s in them, which is really good. But mainly from fish is where you want to be.
And why fish have so much of DHA? Because it's in water, or there is some strange process happening in the fish body?
Yeah, I have no idea. All I know is that the DHA levels in fish is actually higher in colder regions than it is in hot waters. So yeah, I don't know why, but yeah, it's an interesting one. Yeah, I don't know why it's in there. It's just what they're made of, I guess.
So can you summarize the glasses again? For example, I will try, but you correct me if I'm wrong. The red glasses block all blue and green light, and they are for nighttime use. The reasons are in the video, so watch it again. And the yellow glasses are for going outside and boosting your mood in cloudy environment, right?
That's right. Yeah, you can wear them outside to boost your environment during the day, and also indoors too. You can still wear them indoors. You can wear them both.
Yes, it's both blocking blue light and mood boosting. And the last type, the last type of glasses are for blocking only the spike of blue light from LED monitors, right?
Correct. Yes, for computers, computer use. Yeah, so you use these for computer glasses. Yeah.
So I'm correct, and I'm not sure. should you wear basically the yellow glasses outside or no?
Yes and no, okay, and I'll explain. So mainly for indoors, but you wouldn't want to wear any glasses on your eyes during the morning or the afternoon or like late afternoon, because has all the beneficial, infrared UV light that you need to really kickstart your day and also wind down when the red light's coming through in the evenings. But if it's a really cloudy, gloomy day, because these are mood booster glasses. So if someone's suffering from seasonal affective disorder in the middle of the day and they're feeling really low and there's no sun in the sky and they've got outside and they're just like, oh, I'm not feeling any better, you could probably pop them on because it makes everything appear brighter, which has that really good psychological effect to really boost your mood. But you don't want to wear them like outside all the time, like absolutely not. In the morning, you still need to be getting outside and seeing the light, and letting that hit your eyes. So yeah, in the middle of the day, you probably get away with wearing them. But what we've got to remember is that a lot of people that have seasonal affective disorder and need that, and high levels of stress and need that boost, are typically office people that are sat in offices all day. They rarely get outside anyway, so they need something like this to really sort of make them feel uplifted and happy. So yeah, it's a sort of good substitute for sitting in an office when you're really depressed and you're having really really serious thoughts of like, oh, my life's shit or whatever, and you get these on and you're just going to feel so much better. Like, I feel great wearing them. Like, I'm not a chronic sufferer of any of that stuff, but it really helps. Like, if I'm having a rubbish day, like, put them on, I'm just like, summer's day, it's brilliant. So yeah.
And another tip is the salt lamp near your monitor and DHA. This was super awesome talk, and I'm leaving you 1 minute to finish with something, with closing statements while I'm trying to put all the live streams off. So go ahead.
Absolutely. Look, I think the one point I'd like to make is there's a lot of blue blocker companies out there that are trying to sell you amber glasses or a product just to make money. That's all they want to do. They don't care about how optimal it is. They haven't spent the years researching products like our team have been doing here at BLUblox. We only provide glasses based on the latest science. And if new science comes available that says, oh my God, we need to block even higher or whatever, or something else, we will make sure that our products are updated. So, it's not just a case of, buying a pair of blue blockers, which is the case with most companies. When you buy a pair from BLUblox, you are part of our family for life, and we continue to educate you about blue light and about biohacks and about how to improve your environment. So, it may be more expensive than some other glasses, but they are so optimal. They work perfectly. They block blue and green light. We're not out to just take your money and leave you. We're here to help and support you forever. So that's what I'd say.
Super awesome. Thank you very much, Andy. Now hold still for a couple of seconds while I stop everything. Thank you very much again.
No worries. Cheers, guys. Thanks.